Hello and welcome to the Romance Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z and Morgan Brice, and we're going to be talking about Valentine's Day, romance, and love. But first, let's let our panelists introduce themselves. Jeannie.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Adams. I write paranormal romantic suspense, urban fantasy, and space adventure with my friend Nancy Northcott.
And Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie Kelly. I've written lots of different genres, tons of sexy romance, contemporaries, some straight thrillers, some paranormal romantic thrillers, some dark suspense, a little bit of everything.
And Stephanie.
Hey everybody, my name is Stephanie. I'm also known as Flash. I am a USA Today best-selling author who's written close to 100 books at this point. And I've written every genre you can think of: romance, erotica, sci-fi, paranormal, anything in the LGBTQ, as they say, the alphabet mafia family. So if it's anything that holds my interest and I can usually get somebody to listen to me, I'll write it.
And I'm Gail Z and Morgan Brice. As Gail, I write epic fantasy, urban fantasy, and steampunk. But as Morgan Brice, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance, which brings us right back to that topic of people falling in love. Now, anybody here have a Valentine's Day themed story or Valentine's Day that shows up in one of your stories?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Who's first?
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Go for Stephanie.
Okay, I actually have a re-release that's being re-edited and released through Changeling Press, and it's called Happy Effin' Valentine. And my heroine's name is Effin because after her mother gave birth, the doctor and the nurse were speaking to her at the same time, and her husband's sitting on the side, and he's going, "How does it feel?" And she goes, "It effing damn well hurts." So that's what the nurse recorded her name. She is effing damn well.
Awesome.
I love it.
Effin has a big mouth and mentioned something about gremlins not existing and how they're horrible mythological creatures that don't exist, and a bunch of them invaded her house. So Valentine's Day, which is on a Saturday right after Friday the 13th, which makes everything so much more fun, this proves to be a big disaster. Her house is falling apart, everything's coming in, until she buys a good luck Neko, you know, the little Chinese little Japanese, usually cats with the little coin, and the paw goes up and down. She bought a good luck Neko, and that Neko happens to take on human form. So that's about. There's a lot of fights. There's gremlins versus Neko, and in the midst of all of this, Effin actually manages to find love, which is, I think it's hysterical, just because of all the bullshit to go through.
That sounds awesome.
What's the title?
Happy Effin' Valentine.
Okay, thank you.
Gotta find that one as soon as it's re-released.
Yes.
Leslie, how about you?
I did a bunch of Valentine's books for Harlequin for their various lines and for HQN. I have gotten the rights back to a couple of them that I'm working on now. One is out right now. It's called Sheer Delights, and it's about a specialty boutique store for women, and men can come in and shop. And there's a lingerie section, and the man can go in and put in all the information about his dream woman. It's supposed to be just his wife or his girlfriend. And then they have cyber models that come up on the screen. Well, he falls in love with one of these cyber models. I mean, she's still like his dream girl. And then he finds out she's real. She's a kindergarten teacher. She had no idea that her stupid, ignorant cousin was going to use her as a model until she heard men talking about the fact that she's on the screen in the store. The hero is a construction worker from a great big Italian family in Chicago. He's crazy about her. He pursues her. It's very romantic on the top of a high-rise building in an apartment under construction. And that's where they spend Valentine's Day. And it's a lot of fun.
Sounds great.
That sounds terrific. Jeannie, how about you?
I do not have a Valentine themed story. Christmas, Yule, Halloween, 4th of July, but I did not take on Valentine's Day yet.
So if your characters were to celebrate Valentine's Day, or we were to drop in on them on Valentine's Day, do you have any idea what they'd be doing? Because you're usually shooting somebody or running away from somebody shooting at them.
I'm usually shooting someone or blowing something up. So they probably would be on the run or having incredible makeup. We stayed alive sex afterwards. So
maybe you could go to the shooting and, you know, shoot out little heart-shaped things on the paper. How to say I like
Exactly.
bullets.
I'm game for that.
Pull out the arrows so they can
Yeah, really.
shoot Cupid's arrow.
The literal one.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I can work that in.
I did a short story for it was a multi-author prolific works Valentine's Day themed collection, and it was set in my Badlands series, which has a psychic medium and a skeptical cop. And this one ends up with a World War II disappearance and mystery and haunting, of course. And of course, true love prevails both in modern times and bringing long lost lovers back together again after being separated by death in 70 years, as one does. So,
Like you do.
Fantastic. Yeah.
but one of my favorites, you know, I love when people get creative with Valentine's Day and kind of go, what can we do? How can we kind of turn this so it's not just saccharine, there's some other edge to it. And there's a whole multi-author series called Valentine's Inc. And it's about a gay dating service. And of course, every time it goes wrong, you know, something falls through, somebody makes plans to go on a cruise, a singles cruise with their, you know, match, and then the match doesn't show up. So now they're partnered with somebody they never met. Of course, you know, it all works out, but it's just fun to watch them go through all the mix-ups to finally get to, you know, true love. And there was another one that was along the same lines that was supernatural selection. Same thing. The AI was actually a demon, but the demon didn't really understand this whole romance thing. And so it screwed up every match. And then people would find themselves with this incredibly unlikely partner. And of course, it eventually worked out. But it was just fun to watch it be one of those horrible dates, or the, oh my God, how did I end up with you? And then have it work out. So what tropes do you see in Valentine stories, maybe that you haven't used yet, that you'd like to use, or that just, you know, if it's a story with that trope, you can't put it down, it just sort of calls your name.
One I've always wanted to do was that same sort of thing where a group of friends decide that all of them are going to go out for dinner on Valentine's Day because none of them have dates and none of them want the pressure. And, you know, that it ends up being this wonderful time and they decide to do it again and then it all falls apart and, you know, comes back together. That's the one I've always wanted to write.
Mm-hmm.
I've been warned off doing a lot of holiday stuff because I anthropomorphize holidays a lot and tend to make them evil. So I do have one with Cupid. Cupid's being beat down by Santa because Santa owns everything. Everybody's afraid of him. He has a company, North Pole Industries.
That's fabulous.
He runs everything and all the other holidays are cowering. And I did one where Cupid kind of got on his bad side, and Cupid opened up this gorgeous bottle of wine that he stole from Santa. He's going to get away with it from Kris Kringle, and opens it up, and this gorgeous liquid female comes out. And then she's like the most erotic thing he has ever seen. And she's like the perfect woman. She can change into anything. And just as he's falling in love with her, I mean, it's erotic. So we had a lot of erotic content up until that point. And then that's when he's about to confess that he loves her and he's Cupid. Kris Kringle walks by, picks up the bottle and says, "Oh, you stole my home brew. I'll have that back now." And he's like, "But no, you can't do that." And he's like, "Have you ever heard of Christmas in February? How about we extend my reach a little bit?" And he's like, "No, that's not. You want the girl? Fine, I'll do it for the girl." And of course, he gets the girl and he stays under Kris Kringle's thumb. And my editor says, "No more from you." I'm like, what? Really? Every holiday does not have to be evil and it doesn't have to be mean. That was mean. But did you enjoy it? She's like, "Yeah. Have you ever read anything that's quite like it before?"
Nope.
"Oh, yay!" And she's like, "We will not be seeing you for St. Patrick's Day, Thanksgiving, or any of the summer holidays."
Hey, that leaves open bunny shifters for Easter.
There you go.
Totally.
Well, Easter's the only holiday they won't mess with. Chris is like, oh no, we're not messing with that guy. He can go off and do what he want to do. But the rest of you, and his main competition is Halloween. So they're like, no, no more holidays for you. You sit down. You go back and aliens chase somebody.
I can write the heck out of Halloween and Thanksgiving, as you can see by the pumpkins behind me, but I haven't taken on the hearts yet.
You got it.
Well, I actually have a Halloween scene in the book that I'm writing. I mean, a Valentine scene in the book that I'm writing, which was one reason I wanted to do this. I've always wanted to write this book. It's been the hardest book I've ever written. I've been working on it for 2 years to take down the pre-order from Amazon. I had a lot of health issues for the past 18 months and I just haven't been ready. But this is, the hero in this is dead. So it's really tough to make a romantic Valentine's Day with the dead hero, but I'm pulling it off. It's working really well. So we'll see how it goes.
Yay.
Now, part of me wants to start singing the thing from Spam-A-Lot about being not dead yet. But
I'm not dead yet. Yes, yes.
I was thinking zombie. If you remember seeing Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, woo!
Yeah. I just keep thinking that all the zombies are in Washington, D.C. this week, so I don't know.
Well, I mean,
A lot of brain dead people. Sorry.
Good point. No, I'm
Good
close
point.
to DC. We are avoiding it, so we'll just stay here.
Yeah, sorry.
Right. Well, and I love kind of turning the tropes and saying, okay, everybody thinks Valentine's Day is supposed to be roses and chocolates and a really fancy dinner out, maybe. But what if you've got somebody who hates chocolate? What if you've got somebody who's allergic to roses? What if you've got somebody who, for whatever reason, hates going to restaurants?
Or just hates frickin' Valentine's Day.
yeah.
Yeah, or people who have bad associations with it and they never want to hear Valentine's Day again. And how do you bring them back into romance, if not the day itself? So I love exploring those, what really flips your switch, even if it isn't the conventional things that are supposed to. And have you ever had characters that they're not a flowers and candy kind of person, but they're a, D&D and beer kind of person or something unexpected? Let's talk about that, because it's not everybody's jam.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
there are
did.
lots of aromantic characters that are out there who just are not feeling the love and romance.
Well, and I think I think too, that's both in real life and in characters, is that sometimes Valentine's Day becomes a hardship. I mean, it becomes something that because of like a previous relationship, it became a big deal or whatever. And I did write a short about that I published and then took it down and it's not reappeared, but where the heroine hated Valentine's Day because her ex had proposed to her in this lavish thing on Valentine's Day, with the ring and the champagne glass and the whole deal. And she felt compelled to say yes because it was this big lavish deal, and then everything kind of went down the tubes. So she hates Valentine's Day. She hates the brouhaha, and she hates New Year's too. And so they have an anti-Valentine's Day on the Saturday afterwards.
I haven't done that with Valentine's Day, but I did with Christmas. I have a book called Don't Open Till Christmas, and the heroine was dumped right before her Christmas Eve wedding. It's a year later. And then a costume Santa comes in and steals all this money that they have raised for this orphanage. And she's just hates Christmas. She doesn't want anything to do with it. She comes from a town called Christmas. She just wants to vomit when she hears the word. And then the cop who comes to investigate is one of the brothers of the guy who's a construction worker, and the one I was just talking about a while ago. And he's not a big fan either, but they find the magic again. Lots of sexy times under the tree.
With me, if you have a character that actually embraces their dislike, because like you said, not everybody is fond of the holidays. So if you have a character who falls in love despite of the holiday.
Yeah, I think that's super fun.
Drama. Yeah, that's the best part of reading these stories for me. It's so much fun because it's a lot of things that you can relate to. Might not be that particular holiday, but I'm sure we have things that we're forced to do because of, societal conventions and what family says. And we just grit our teeth and suck it through and try to push through as fast as we can. If you
Yeah.
have
Oh, yeah.
somebody in that situation and they manage to turn it around, and it doesn't have to end up the Harlequin Hearts and Roses, the Harlequin channel that they do. Everybody's happy at the end of it. How about a happy for now? Or that
Mhm.
works out. And it literally had nothing to do with the holiday itself, but the person you're with. So
Yeah.
that whole exploration of that relationship and that developing relationship through so much adversity is something that grabs me all the time.
Mhm.
You can stick with somebody after some of the disastrous things that you can imagine, and we can imagine a lot. If you can still get somebody to develop this relationship despite that, who can still think with their heart and have their heart opened up enough, that's amazing to me, and that always touches me, and that makes me something. It goes on my saver shelf. That's
Yeah.
something I read over and over again.
I love that. A couple years ago, there was a Valentine's anthology, and I'm trying to remember who was in it, but excuse me, all of the stories were that way. They were like, we hate the holiday. We want to do something else. We're going to go hot air ballooning or something, we're going to, and because I remember that because one of the stories was about being in a hot air balloon and being way off course. And, but they were all those sort of, hey, we figure out a way to find relationship and find love in spite of all the commercialism of Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to write a story. I have a friend who is a florist, and she loathes Valentine's Day. She, it's the love hate. You love the fact that you make all this, money on Valentine's Day because you're shipping out all these flowers, but she actually also loathes it because people are demanding and people are difficult. And so I've always wanted to sort of create her as a character to explore that a little bit and go, okay, if you don't like the holiday, what do you do? How do you celebrate? How does someone celebrate loving you if you don't love that holiday?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They bring you a 6-pack and a video.
Exactly.
And I think that's really fun also when you start showing different ways to express love beyond the, big
Isn't
heart of chocolate and the roses. I was so disappointed when I was a kid. I thought the pinnacle of romance and glamour was getting one of those big hearts at the grocery store that had the ruched fabric on it, and it's like the Russell Stover collection.
Yeah.
And then I finally got one, and the candy's not actually that good. The box is cool, but the candy kind of sucks. And it was like, okay, life lesson here. But what are some other ways that, maybe your Valentine's Day or rose allergic or candy chocolate person ends up showing love or being shown love that kind of puts a whole new spin on things?
I would love it if
I have a real life story about
Okay.
that.
the person that just
I don't hate Valentine's Day by any means, but my husband and I, it's like you buy the roses 3 days before and they're a third the price. So we just don't do it. Maybe a card, and after 35 years, not a big deal. But when I sold my first book to Harlequin, it was called Night Whispers, and there was a Halloween scene, and the heroine tricked the hero into dressing up as a romance novel cover hero, and he was in a pirate costume. So I have my first book signing at a Barnes and Noble for Valentine's Day a few months later, and in walks my husband, head to toe in a pirate costume with flowers, and came and posed for pictures with me, and it was just the most adorable thing. And the funniest thing is he was a safety expert for NASA at the time, and one of his friends from work got hold of the picture and spread it everywhere. So to this day, his old friends from NASA call him the pirate. I mean, the picture was just all over NASA. It was hilarious. So still one of my favorite Valentine's Days.
Oh, that's so cute.
It was.
Stephanie, you were starting to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
No, it's okay.
Some people, because I actually have some very personal reasons for not liking Valentine's Day. It's never been good, and I had something really bad happen, so I tend to avoid it. I think the best thing that ever happened is the year after that horrible Valentine's Day. My husband walked down, leaned up against me, just put his head on my shoulder. And that's something, because he's like 6'7". Dennis is a Viking. He's a Viking. The Viking came, put his head on my shoulder and was like, yeah, it's just another day. And let it go. That was the best thing. I loved him so much for that, because I didn't have to explain. I didn't have to go into detail. No explanations were actually needed. You understood that I do not like this day. And
Right.
instead of trying to change my mind or try to force the joy and joviality in there, he just accepted it and accepted me for, my reasons for that. And to me, I could not have loved that man anything more after than that. I was like, you really and truly do love me. It's like, yeah, we don't have to do anything. So we just spend that day, we're just together. And ever since then, never has he brought home any chocolates and things for me on Valentine's Day. My
Yeah.
favorite holiday is the day after. So after Valentine's Day, we run to like the stores and buy up all the cheap chocolates and double that down. But for that particular day, it's like, you don't have to explain. I understand. And you know what? I'm not going to try to change you. You are the way you are. I love you for what you are. And
So he's a real romance hero. He's a
Yeah.
romance hero come to life.
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is. And like at the time, he, like I said, he's 6'7", it's like 340, and long hair, long blonde hair. Oh my goodness, he was like the perfect hero for a comic book. Well, comic book. Yeah, comic book too. I can see that, but he's the perfect hero for a romance novel. Actually, we were at RT a few years and years ago at Romantic Times Convention, and he wanted to see what it was all about, so he went with me. And someone says, it was an author who was like, I want you on the cover of my book. And I did not see him for the rest of the day. As romantic as he is, he's like, oh, there's some things I'll just run away. But then he'll turn around and do something. Like after that, he bought dinner for me, my beta readers, and my editor. So I was like, oh, you balanced out abandoning me to all the women who are looking for you. Oh, you're such a good man. Like, I'll pay for that later. But for now, I'm paying for lunch. Isn't that great? So I think, acceptance is such a wonderful thing.
Yeah. I think that's always one of those things that in real life or in a book, the fact that your hero and heroine, no matter, or your two heroes accept each other, that's sort of that key thing that makes everybody go, that acceptance is so wonderful. My husband and I don't celebrate Valentine's Day either, because I have somewhat of a negative connotation to it. And so we had gone out, had just started dating, and he pulls into the parking lot of this restaurant, and he was going to surprise me, and we were going to go out on Valentine's Day. And it was a place I had a really bad experience with another date. And I was like, oh, we're going here? He's like, do you hate this place? I'm like, kinda. He gets out his phone, calls him and cancels the reservation. He says, we're not going to get a reservation anywhere else, but let's go to the pizza place, have a meal. I'm like, okay. And from that point, that was one of those first clues that I went, this one might be a keeper.
And let me take notes for a future book.
Yeah.
In normal years, we go out to the fondue place, and because it's special and it takes forever, and it's not something you do normally. It's a special thing. But we never go on Valentine's Day because they have a restricted menu and it costs twice as much. So we go a couple of weeks before, a couple of weeks after. The food's still the same, but it's half as expensive. And, we're practical people. But I think, one of the other things that sort of fits in on the edges, it kind of comes back almost to something you said, Stephanie. We also overlook how special friendship is, even if it doesn't turn into a romance. When I remember a Valentine's Day when I was in grad school, and I had just had a bad breakup before Christmas that year. So Valentine's Day was rolling around, and I didn't have a boyfriend, and it was bothering me because I had one and he was gone. And I was in grad school at Penn State. We had a lot of snow. And a friend of mine, who was just a friend, brought a Valentine and slipped it under my apartment door. And the thing was, I knew where his apartment was. I knew he didn't have a car. I knew he walked a mile in the snow to do that.
Oh, how sweet was that?
And it made, I remember all these years later, it just made my day. And it wasn't angling to become anything else. he just was a friend. And
Just a good guy.
that's a special kind of thing too, because that made my day, and I still remember it.
That's so cool.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
I love friendships like that. Not only does it prove that men and women can be friends without anything relationship wise happening, it shows that if you're a true friend, you will put yourself out there to help help your best friend feel a little bit better. I mean,
Yeah.
it gives me hope for the world.
It does. Yeah.
People out there like that.
That's actually one of those things that I think right now, sending greeting cards has got to be one of the best. And that, you know, Christmas is one thing, but just sending that, hey, thinking about you card, sometimes right now is just one of the best things you can do. And I decided I was going to start buying Valentine's Day cards ahead of time, you know, because they're just now starting, and just start sending them to people randomly.
Great idea. Should I give you my address?
Yes, absolutely. Because, you know, this is a crazy time. And we're all going through weird crap, and sometimes it's not even like visible weird crap. And so I figured, you know what, I'm just going to start going through, spin the wheel on my address book and go, hey, it's the R's this week. Let's send some people some cards. Just because, you know, it's like Gail says, is that friendship thing. Sometimes you just need to touch base with people and go, hey, still thinking about you over here.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I used to love as a kid was, you know, when you'd make that Valentine's box in elementary school, and you usually got like the paper doilies and glued them with the candy heart, and maybe some crepe paper too. And the glue always made it bleed onto everything else, so it sort of looked like somebody had been murdered on your box. You tried. And my kids are all adults now, but one of the things I found out I missed was how really life essential it was to pick the right Valentine in elementary school. Did you get the Thundercats? Did you get the Power Rangers? Did you get G.I. Joe? Did you get, you know? What were they?
We lost you for a sec.
I know, I'm back. But it, you know, I missed that because I used to broker that and go, well, do you want the Mylar ones, or do you want the ones that come with the candy? Or, you know, now I just look at them and go,
You know, I loved that with my kids too. But one of the things that I have never seen any place else but the high school I went to, and y'all have to tell me if y'all had this experience too. But one of the clubs at the high school had done this thing where every major holiday that we were in school, so Halloween, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and May Day. They actually made that one just so because fundraiser, right? You could order Valentine for $1. You send a carnation in that particular holiday's color to anybody you wanted to. So you could do, 10 carnations to your secret crush. You could do a carnation to your coach or your players or your friends or your book buddies, and they did this thing where they made sure everybody got at least one. And some of them were like mysterious and all this. And it got to be this thing where if they figured out that somebody didn't have like a Valentine's carnation, they would figure out which people didn't have them. And then they'd put these mystery tags on them and send them to people. And it got to be this huge deal in school, and they made a fortune on it. So, their club was set for the rest of the year. But it was so much fun because I had moved into this school system in the middle of my 9th grade year. And I'm like, what's up with this flower thing? And I didn't know anybody. We're 600 miles from home. And I get like 3 carnations, and I'm like, who's this from? And so it was the most fun thing. Did any of y'all's high schools do that, or colleges do that?
Not with flowers. My kids' schools did candygrams for Halloween and Valentine's Day. And then in high school, they did singing telegrams.
Oh, how
so
fun.
The theater kids, you could hire them and they would go sing a song to their crush sometime during the day, which was adorable. My kids were all theater kids, so that was just super, super cute. I remember the candygrams. It became an issue when my middle daughter was in 2nd grade, because there was a girl in her class who was very I would probably today you would say she was on the spectrum. She was not very sociable, and the other kids didn't like her that much. And my middle daughter just set out determined to make her friend that year. I mean, all these overtures, never returned, but the day she gave up was Valentine's Day. And she sent her a piece of candy, said, I want to be your friend. And the little girl came over, it's the first time she'd actually volunteered to speak to her, slammed it down and said, I don't like candy. My daughter's like, I give up. She's never going to be my friend. So it's like, honey, at least you tried. That was very sweet.
Mhm.
I know I made a mitt in my junior and sophomore years of high school selling. I would go, it was a literal penny candy store. And I would go and get a couple of hundred pieces for a few bucks. And I would make these cards and I would glue the candy onto the cards. And I would proceed to sell this to people who wanted to give Valentines. And if you were very, very special, and I had the time, because all the teachers like me, if I had time during my lunch break, I would deliver them to the classrooms with little red heart and little hat. And they were like, oh, that's so sweet. And I'm in the back like, yeah, I see. Homework had a good idea with this. So every Valentine's Day was a time for me to rake in the money.
Yep.
And I had one time when my boyfriend at my then boyfriend at the time actually knocked on the door and delivered a chocolate heart to me. And I was like, I'd never had a boyfriend before, let alone one who was going to give me a chocolate. So I sat there with my face burgundy and didn't want to get up to get it. But they were like, go get your chocolates. Like, thank you. Like,
How sweet is that?
Is this a chocolate that I made?
Did I also make the money off this? Cool.
Yeah, really. Double dipping, yay!
He was like, yeah. I was like, thank you. And they were like, kiss, kiss, kiss. And we don't do that. No.
You know, you were talking about romantic gestures that are kind of Valentine's-y that aren't Valentine's. And, you know, one of the things that I said to my husband, just kind of off the cuff when we were first dating, I said, you know, everybody, Gail will laugh because she knows my background. I said, everybody buys flowers for people when they're dead. I said, you know, funerals, all these flowers. I said, buy me flowers while I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
I said, don't buy me these demonstration, you know, roses on, you know, some holiday. Buy me flowers when I'm alive.
Yeah,
and so we've been together for 23 years and he still does it. Every now and again, I'll come home and I'll be doing stuff, you know, there'll be flowers, just random flowers. Now he's a accountant, so I've decided he has some sort of random number generator. And then he pops up on his calendar and that's when he goes and does it. But I don't care. It's still the same.
We had the same deal. My husband would do the same thing. Where we lived in Florida, there was a gas station where we used to go and they had somebody sitting there with a flower stand. So it was like, whenever he stopped for gas, I would get a $5 bouquet of flowers, but I didn't care. I loved it.
Yeah. Buy me flowers.
Trader Joe's. Years when you can go places, Trader Joe's has the best prices and on roses, but also on just pretty bouquets. And we do the same thing. You know, normal times, picking up a bouquet is usually part of the, you know, Saturday grocery shop because they're inexpensive and you get to enjoy them sometimes for more than 1 week. And they just make you happy every time you look at them, which is like the best way you can spend $5 in my book. And it doesn't make you fat. So all good, you know.
All good.
I have to say, the latest romantic gesture that my husband did 2 weeks ago, he got me battery operated socks. Out of the blue, he go, you're always cold, roaming around the house. You love me.
Oh, awesome gift.
Yeah.
There's a secondary point to this because he's like, yeah, your feet are cold at night when you get in bed. So, I mean, but I put my feet on you. And he's like, I know. See, I love you. Battery operated socks. So I'm like, well, at least that's romantic. He knew that was something that I would not think of buying for myself that I didn't even consider. But he knew I was cold. So he's like, here, weather's changing. Here you go.
And you know, that's one of those things that I love when I read it in a romance book where it kind of turns that trope on its head and it defies your expectation, where somebody does a gesture that is grounded in actually having paid attention to the person they're interested in instead of just going along with what you're supposed to do. So maybe they know their person can't eat chocolate. They don't show up with chocolate. They show up with whatever they can eat. Cheese. Cheese is always appropriate as far as I'm concerned. Cheese shows your love better than anything else.
Starburst for me. Starburst shows love to me. That's what I'd rather have than candy, and my husband knows it. Starburst or Skittles.
Yeah.
Coffee.
But
Coffee.
yeah, knowing something for candy. Huh?
Coffee. Yeah.
Yes.
My husband does not drink coffee or tea or any kind of soda. He's just purist. But periodically, he'll just buy me coffee. I'm like, oh, okay. And it is, you're right, Gail. It's one of those things where having somebody just pay attention and know that it's something you want or need, and not necessarily some frou-frou gesture. Like one year he bought me sawhorses because I wanted them. he knew I wanted them. And all my girlfriends were like, oh my God, he did what? Are you mad? I'm like, oh, hell no, I wanted them. Now I can finish those projects.
Like Stephanie's socks.
Yeah, like the socks. It's like, I really wanted those. He's like, I'll get you a Home Depot gift card. I'm like,
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And don't complain if there's feathers or glitter in the house, and if there's things floating around, just ignore it. That's the best stuff you can do. Say, I acknowledge this mess. You will get to this mess eventually. I will walk with you. That's true love. When you don't complain about glitter in a carpet, that is true love.
Yeah. Well, and you know, when you read those kind of things, when you've got an author that writes a story that makes you feel that feeling like, wow, that person really gets who the other person is in this story. To me, those are like Stephanie said, those are the ones I put on my keeper shelf. Those are the ones where I go, oh, heartstrings, because they've figured it out. They know what that person is about. And, you know, I love those. Those go on the keeper shelf.
I had one more real life story. I have to brag on my husband again. One thing. My mom died very young, when I was pretty young. And when I was a little girl, I have this memory of going to the bank with her. And every time you deposited $25, you would get a piece of this china. And I remember going with her twice a week for weeks so she could fill out this china set. And they stopped it before she could get the bowls. Flash forward 30 years, it's Christmas. My big present, he got me a pair of diamond earrings, which were lovely. The next thing I opened is a box with 8 of those bowls.
Oh, wow.
That I get tracked down from this discontinued pattern place, and he bought them for me. And I still cry when I think about it. It was
I was
the
like,
best.
did you bawl? I would have bawled like a baby.
I cried my face off. It was the best gift I've ever gotten. It really was the best thing he's ever done for me.
That's so cool.
Now that's romance. That's romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay, Bruce.
Go, Bruce. That's right.
Go, Bruce. He's going to be in the next book.
That's right.
He's the hero of all my books.
Not mine. I tilt mine quite frequently. He gets on my nerves. You're dead, buddy.
No, I love that because, and I think when you come across these things in a book and it isn't the usual, for one thing, you know, it brings a little more realism in it, because I know people who get power tools and dishes and appliances for an event and love it because that's what they really
Right.
Yeah.
You know, with all the elaborate stuff that happens in movies, but yeah, not so much in real life.
Yeah.
But like you said, you know, when somebody does that, you go, yeah, he's a keeper. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And I think you do the same thing when you read it in a book and you go, well, now that's interesting, but I like him. You ought to stick around.
Yeah. Keep that one.
Yeah. See what he does next. Sequel.
Yeah. Yeah. See what he does next.
Yeah.
So before we get to the end of our time, I do want to go around and ask everybody, what do you have out? What do you have coming up, or what's out recently? And where do we find you online? Pardon me. Stephanie, let's start with you.
Okay. Recently, I just have part of the How Not to Date series is now How Not to Date a Snowman. And my heroine gets a stuffed animal that magically becomes a dude in her bed during a heat wave in Florida right around Christmas.
Ooh.
And they get in an argument. She kicks him out the house and he melts. So
Oh.
she's got to try to figure out how to get it back together again. But that's How Not to Date a Snowman. And like I said, coming out within the next 3 weeks, I'll get the exact date, but from Changeling Press, there is the Happy Effin' Valentines, which is so freaking cute because, woo, Gremlins. I mean, you gotta love Gremlins.
Gremlins make everything better. How about you, Leslie?
I actually grabbed a couple of my books. This was out in August.
And it's
this was out
awesome.
in March. Thank you. They're two dark romantic suspense. The first one is kind of more romancy. The second one is really heavy on the romantic thriller angle. It's a serial killer book. I'm working on the third book in that series right now. It's going to be called Never Stop Running, coming out later this year. And I'm also working on the book I was talking about with the dead hero, which is called Cold Heart. And that's one of my extrasensory agents books. And that'll be coming out later this year also. That's my goal, get 2 books out this year.
Mm-hmm.
And your
How about
extrasensory
you, Jeannie?
agent series is awesome. I love your
what?
series. I said I love your extrasensory agent series. That's great.
Thank you. It's been so hard. I just got to get through this book and then I'm going to start a next gen.
Yay.
Yeah.
For me, the most recent thing that I had out is Trick or Treat at Canham Castle, in which Gail is also part of that in her Morgan Brice persona. And the story in that is part of my Witches Walk series. We're going to have Nancy and I are going to have another Outcast Station space adventure, non-romance story out probably by April. And I'm going to be doing some reissues of books that I got the rights back to. So I'm hoping to get that done in the spring, but I'm making no promises.
Well, my next Morgan Brice book that comes out will be part of it'll actually be a novella and a multi-author anthology. And the prompt for the anthology is retelling classic fairy tales with a male romance twist. And mine is a twist on the 3 Billy Goats Gruff, which includes a boar goat, a fainting goat, and Baphomet, as one does. It's a love story. And see, gonna think that through. And then the next one is also in a shared universe multi-author. This will be a series of books and novellas, depending on what length people go for. And all of them have a magical emporium that shows up out of nowhere only once with exactly the object you need in your dire need. Although you may not understand what your dire need actually is, it knows. And so that'll be coming out in April. And both of those will be adjacent to my Fox Hollow universe. So yeah, good stuff coming up. Well, folks, thank you so much for being here today. But I do want everybody, it's going to be fun. I do want everybody to mention where we can find you online. So Jeannie, take us around.
Yeah, I'm Jeannie Adams, as you can see, and it's jeannieadams.com. And you can find me at Jeannie Adams on Twitter, where I spend way too much time, and JPA Griffin on Instagram. And those are my 2 biggest things. And also on Facebook with Continual and my own name. So Continual Convention on Facebook is the best place to find me.
Leslie.
I write as Leslie Kelly for my sexy romance. I'm not writing those right now, but I've got a lot that I've gotten the rights back to that I'm going to reissue. So it's lesliekelly.com. My dark suspense is under leslieakelly.com. I'm on Facebook as author Leslie Kelly. I'm on Twitter. I don't remember my handle. Leslie Kelly something. Oh, it's Leslie Kelly, aka Rebel Woman, because some jerk got in a fight with me a couple months ago and told me I wasn't a saintly woman and I was a rebel woman and I needed to calm down. So that became part of my name. And I'm on Instagram, but I don't know how to use it.
How about you, Stephanie?
You can find me at author Stephanie Burke online. You can find me under Stephanie Burke on Facebook and on Twitter. And in Instagram and TikTok, I am FlashyCat2004. So I'll be around. And if push comes to shove, just type my name in your search engine. I'll probably be number 1.
I'm going to look for your TikToks. I bet they're super fun.
Oh, we have a lot to cover. I have a lot. Oh, so many plans, so many plans.
Awesome. You're perfect for it. I can just tell.
And I'm pretty easy to find too. Just remember to put the Z in Gail Z Martin and spell Brice with an I. But on Twitter, I'm Gail Z Martin and Morgan Brice book. And on Instagram, Morgan Brice author. And on Facebook, it's, look for Gail and Morgan and you'll find me. And of course, I'm always here on Continual. So folks, thank you so much for being with us. Happy Valentine's Day in advance, however you choose to celebrate that. And thank you everybody for being with us tonight. Stay tuned. We'll have more holiday romance and lots of other good stuff for you here on Continual. See you online.